Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Tonight, we are going to be looking at a very fascinating topic, assessing your HR career journey. And our facilitator for tonight is Leticia Mugana. I hope I pronounced that pretty well. She's going to be teaching us, running us through how to assess our HR career journey. I would like to read her profile so that we can get better acquainted with her. So please pay attention as I read her profile. I'm just waiting for the slides to move from my hand. So Leticia Mugana is a seasoned human resource professional with more than a decade of experience in various professional roles. Her expertise spans key HR functions, including talent management, HR analytics, strategic leadership, performance management, learning and development, project management, and human resource policy development. She currently holds a leadership position within the human resource function at Full Range Holdings Limited, where she manages HR operations across diverse subsidiaries, including financial institutions, consulting, construction, and insurance. In her spare time, she provides leadership training to public servants in partnership with Gemstone Leadership Network and volunteers her expertise to NGOs in their people development management area. She holds a master's in International Human Resource Management from Rome Business School and is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM. She has a passion for results and a focus on sustainable growth. Leticia is dedicated to making a positive impact on people's lives while achieving professional success and cherishing what truly matters to her. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to welcome to the virtual lecture my colleague, my friend and sister, Leticia Mugana, assessing your HR career journey. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oluyemi. I appreciate you for two things, your consistency and commitment. I thank you. You have been super committed to this community, week in, week out, available, ensuring that we are consistently improving on the value of our practice. And for that, I say thank you. And to my fellow learners tonight, I want to commend you, especially those of you that are constantly on this learning series. I want to appreciate you and let you know that your time here, week in, week out, is not in vain. So thank you once again for joining me tonight as we discuss on the topic, assessing your HR career journey. You see, this topic is what I would call a lifestyle for every HR professional. As a HR professional, we are saddled with the responsibility of assessing almost everything. We are assessing our organization, ensuring that our initiatives and programs are yielding, the positive results to the overall organizational goal. We are assessing employees, even assessing ourselves. So when you look at it, it's like a lifestyle. We are living it. It's an everyday thing. So I'm not going to burden you with the definition of what assessment is. It's something that we currently do. So I would like us to look at what we intend to learn today. We are going into the significance of career assessment. Why is it important? Why should we take this process very seriously? And we'll be looking at assessment strategies and steps to assessing our HR career. What are the different steps, the cycle, and everything that has to do with getting us from one point to the next. And then look at identification of career stages and what do we do to transition from one stage of our career to another. Finally, we'll be looking at career development and management and how to develop your own personal, development template or process. So this is our icebreaker tonight. I want us to go through this case study. I'm going to read it, and I will need us to, share your views on this particular, the journey of Temitope and Ugo. So I'm just going to read very fast. Temitope is a dynamic tech startup, was proactive from the start. By year 5, Temi was a senior HR manager, whereas Ugo was still in his assistant role. Temi actively sought out mentors, attending HR workshops, and proactively engaged in challenging and leadership projects. Her ambition and commitment to self-improvement set her on a path to rapid advancement. She excelled, taking on additional responsibilities and making her mark as a valuable HR resource. By the time Ugo realized the need for change, Temi is already a senior HR manager. Ugo, in a traditional corporation, initially took a passive approach to his HR career, focusing on his daily tasks. However, as he observed the growing gap between him and Temi's progress, he decided to reassess his career path. He actively sought mentorship, pursued additional HR qualifications, and took on leadership projects. His newfound intentionality and proactive approach resulted in his promotion to a mid-level HR role, closing the gap between him and Temi. What a happy ending story. So I would like us to share with us tonight what you see play out in this case study. And if you have an experience or you know someone that has experienced something like this, I want to share with us, in the chat box very quickly. Okay, what are the insights? What are the factors that contributed to Temi's growth, rapid growth, as I call it? And what do you see here as Ugo's happy ending? So let me go, further while I wait for responses from you. This is the key takeaway from this scenario. Career growth in HR, one, is not solely determined by the organization. I often say this to my team. Do not depend on your organization for your development, for your growth, not for any reason. Do not depend. Your growth and your development is your choice. It is based on how intentional you want to be or how intentional you are. You cannot depend on the organization for you to grow if you truly want to grow, because most organization does not pay attention. It takes your intentionality and your push to get to the next level. So from the story, you could see that Temi didn't wait for that organization. He got or she got her hands dirty. I mean, going for more responsibilities, taking on leadership, roles, assisting in so many ways. When you look at that case studies, you see they both join an organization at the same time. However, in doing, Temi became. But we cannot just sit and say, I'm just doing my work, whatever they give me. You have to be intentional to go for more, because it's in the doing that you become. Then you also look at emphasis on intentionality. Temi was intentional in going forward, in improving, in the quality of her practice. There was a self-assessment. She understood her assignment and didn't wait for anything. She was proactive in her career planning. Regardless of where you are starting from, this is a continuous thing. It's not a one and done activity. When it comes to assessments, it is something that should be ongoing. You revisit it, especially when you see that you are, changing. Even the world we are is changing. So we cannot be stuck doing the same activities over and over and again. Then you also see the importance of mentorship. You see, we cannot overemphasize on the importance of mentorship in HR, in developing of your skill. So when you look at that case study, you see, in fact, as a matter of fact, that is my reality. It's not just, something I just made up. That is a real life story, right? So we cannot overemphasize on the importance of mentorship and skill development. It's very important. Let's look at this quote. I saw this quote and I thought to highlight it. And I would also like to hear from you what you understand by this quote. He says that assessment is today's means of modifying tomorrow's method. Assessment is today's means of modifying tomorrow's method. What does it mean? It means that assessment is an insight generating process or tool. So whatever insight you get from assessment, you can use it to modify your tomorrow. You can use it to set a goal that will make an impact in your tomorrow. It is today's means of modifying tomorrow. Nothing just happens. Things don't just change. Is it that you are proactively changing things or something somewhere is making it happen? So we must pay attention to what we do today as it has an impact in our tomorrow. So let's pay attention to this. It is a means, today's means to modifying tomorrow. If you don't like the result, when you look at that case study, you would notice that Ugo reassessed, looking at the gap between the friend, reassessed his steps and began to do something to modify his tomorrow. And when you look at it at the end, he was promoted to a mid-level. So you see that intentionality play out. If you do not realize and reassess yourself and begin to make conscious effort to changing, you are likely to be where you are. Let's look at this important quote again by Peter Drucker. He said that the most serious mistakes are not being made as a result of wrong answers. The truly dangerous thing is asking the wrong question. And what I want to ask tonight is, what is assessment without question? What is assessment without question? There is absolutely no assessment without question. But the dangerous thing is, are you asking the right question or are you asking the wrong question? Because if you're asking the wrong question, you're not likely to get the best out of that assessment. Let's take, for instance, you put out a post as HR professional, seeking for, let's say, HR manager. And during your interview, you are asking questions around, tell me how to develop sales funnel. Or you are asking something totally irrelevant to the position you are looking for. No matter how good of HR that candidate is, you're not likely to get the best out of that interview. That is how dangerous asking the wrong question could be. So it's important that when we are taking this assessment or going through this process, you know exactly the objective must be clear so that you can develop questions, streamline your question in such a way it will give you the value of what you are looking for. Let's look at some benefits of assessment. One is to highlight or heighten your self-awareness and provide a deeper understanding of your strengths and blind spots, including work style. So awareness it's a tool you could use to identify yourself. You can become more self-aware, self-discovery can come out of using the right assessment tools. It heightens that self-assessment or awareness. One is to make informed decision. 3, it's being proactive in making the most use of development opportunities. And then lastly, it's improving your ability to work effectively in your current role and preparing for future positions you may aspire to. We have a lot of benefits of this, but I choose to highlight this for because especially if the self-awareness is more like a pillar, the foundation of every other, areas of your life. So we're going to be looking at assessment strategies, steps, an HR professional can take to assess and manage their career journey. And we'll also look at areas to assess, look at assessment cycle, and important areas to really assess as you journey. One, we have the formal assessment. This is a typical standardized test or exams. They measure your knowledge, skills. So it's more like a formal way of assessment. Example, you're going for a degree, master's, and all of that. So when you are in that kind of formal environment, that's the kind of assessment you go through your test, you go through your exams. So it's a standardized test or exam that you use to measure something. One is informal assessment. They are assessments that are not as structured as formal assessment, and it can be used to assess your knowledge. Can include things like quizzes, group discussion, and observation. I want to say this, which is what we have on a HR mentorship platform, more of informal assessment. I don't know about others, but one thing I know is when discussion is going on, I am actually assessing myself while I am learning. Sometimes, you see someone post something going on in the organization, seeking for, ideas as to how to solve it. And I'm looking at those feedbacks. I'm asking myself, if I were the one in this shoe, I probably wouldn't have thought about it this way. So you see, that platform is a way of assessing yourself. You are learning, you are assessing, you are growing, right? And then we look at performance assessment. This is usually the type that we have during, interviews. We carry this out during our performance, appraisal. You want to assess the competence of maybe candidates that has come for interview. So you are using this particular assessment method, especially technical skills, to see if this is your right candidate. And then we have self-assessment process where you now reflect on what makes you who you are. You identify your strengths and your weaknesses. We also have this assessment strategy, which is called the 360-degree assessment. So this includes your managers, peers, group, and everyone. As the name implies, it's self-assessment. So you give everybody opportunity to assess you. So we look at number one, who are you? Self-reflection. Some will call it self-awareness. Who are you? This is where you begin to reflect on what makes you who you are. You are assessing, evaluating, what are my interests? How do I want to show up? What is my value? What is my personality? Until we begin to dig deeper into who we are, you are not likely to deploy your best possible self. So this is how it looks. You have self-awareness is you discovering yourself, you developing yourself, and then deploying your best possible self. So if I, for instance, discover that I am interested in people management, for instance, employee relation, I have discovered that this is what I want to, this is when I deploy my best possible self. I own it and I begin to hone that skill. What it does to me is I will be able to refine that skill and, deploy that best possible self. I'll deploy myself in the best possible way, right? So I should be able to, reflect on what I am most interested in. So what it makes me is, and when I see something that is not what I want to do, I am not interested because I have identified that this is where I give my best. This is where I grow the best, right? So it's important that we discover and evaluate our skills, know what we are best at, what is our interest, what is my preferences, what kind of organization would I want to work, what kind of environment, what kind of energy, at what point am I high with energy, so you can know the things to do at that point. So these are the things we're supposed to know about ourselves. So one of my mentors defined self-awareness as a growing, a radical recognition of who you are, what you've got for the world, what you are here to do, who you are in contact with, and the problem you believe you are here to solve. So the question I want to ask tonight is, as passionate HR professionals, do you have a clear sense of purpose in your HR career? Because it's beyond just carrying out your task as HR professional. What impact do you intend to make, right? How do you want to show up in your career? What are your values? So this is when you learn all of those things, know what you value the most, know how you want to show up. We'll look at number 2, which is establish career goals, turning your insights into opportunities. By the time you are done assessing yourself, do not delay in decision-making. Do not delay in your decision-making. Put everything together and set a career goal for yourself. Be smart with your goals. So I'm sure we have heard, seen over time what SMART goals looks like. So let's dive deeper and ask specific questions around each of these, it's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So if you want to check whether your goal is specific, you're asking questions like, what do I want to accomplish? Your objective must be clear. What do I want to achieve with this goal? Who is involved? It's that direct and specific. Why do I want to achieve this goal? So until your objective is clear, you can't move from this. You have to stay on it and make sure that your goal is very clear to you. And then we'll move to how measurable is your goal? How do you measure? How would you know whether you have achieved your goal or not? Is it measured? Can you measure it? What is your indicator of progress? How do you know if you have reached your goal? Then you want to also assess if others have done it successfully. You want to assess if you have the capacity, the resources. And I would like to say, in most cases, you don't have to have the capacity really, but you want to ask, does my neighbor, does my sister, does this person have the capacity to help me move forward? Because you're not going to have all the resources. Okay? So move to how realistic is your goal? Is this goal achievable? So I'll give you this story. I remember once when I wanted to, do my master's, and I was asking all of this question. By the time they called the amount of
You need to unmute, please.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Where did we stop? Did you hear me?
The amount of money.
The amount, okay. Thank you. So I was like, okay, how do we achieve this? At that point, I was assessing whether this is achievable or not. And then beyond it being achievable outrightly, you want to also see, how can I break it? Are there ways this can be achieved without me paying, that lump sum at the same time? So when you need something and you truly want to achieve it, you're going to come up with ways, or better still, engage, talk to mentors, talk to network to see, because most things you don't think is possible, people have achieved it and they found ways of achieving it. So you want to also engage other people to ensure that you are on the right path and you are making the right decision for your career. And lastly, we are asking, what is the timeline for this goal? You want to set, is it a long-term goal? Is it a short-term goal? Okay, does my goal have deadline? It must have deadline. By when do you want to achieve this goal? So these are questions you must answer. Have clear answers to each of this in order to say, yes, I have a SMART goal. All right. Let's go to evaluating your skills, which is the third point here. Evaluating your skill set and performance. You want to assess your current knowledge, your skills and attributes. And we're talking about both technical skills and soft skills. You want to know, how much do I know? You understand that HR has various aspects. It's a very diverse profession. You want to know, how much do I know about recruitment? How much do I know, especially when you are, more interested in something? You want to know how much you know in that area. How do I have all the necessary skills, both technical and soft skills? What HR competencies do you excel at, and which ones needs improvement? If we don't carry this thing, if we don't, it's a continuous thing. And if we don't make it a lifestyle, beyond you assessing your organization and assessing your fellow colleagues, you have to bring it home. Like the way I see HR really, I see it as, I see myself as a value influencer. And if I'm a value influencer, I carry value. Why shouldn't I pay attention to my own self? Every quarter, you are at the forefront of assessing your organization. And you are not sitting back to ask yourself, how am I growing? How am I assessing myself? How am I improving the quality of my practice? These are the things that we need to do. This saying, you can't give what you do not have. You can't give what you do not have. So if I have the time to do this for my organization, I should even do it more to myself. If you must continue to, deliver value, then we also utilize 360-degree assessment tool. This is to help you gain like a granular view of your skill set. You are not just assessing yourself. It's not just your manager assessing you. At this point, you are asking your fellow colleagues, can you tell me something about me? You want to, first of all, get clear with what you want them to help you assess. Maybe the way you come off. Sometimes people may see you as a very mean person. This woman, no, she's not confidential. And this thing, we don't talk a lot about it as HR. This is one of the skills that, we should constantly assess. Does our fellow colleagues, do they think you are confidential? As a HR, how confidential can you be with information regarding your fellow employees? So these are the areas you want to also get, information from all stakeholders across board. In that way, you have something to work with. Then performance assessment can also be used to assess your skills, such as communication, negotiation. Yes, I mentioned it earlier, confidentiality, problem solving, and all of that. We look at obtain feedback, which is the number 4 point. Feedback from relevant people is an amazing tool for personal and professional growth. You don't want to play with feedback, really. And I know Sammy said something yesterday around this. You must be prepared to take it, whether pleasant or not, whether good or not. I'm not talking about those people that want to give you feedback to pay you. That's not what I'm talking about. You can obtain quality feedback, from your managers, from your people, from your family. You want to obtain feedbacks because it goes beyond the work you do in your organization. You also want to get feedback from how you come off, your personality and your preferences. Okay, how do you plan to gather feedback from others with respect to self-analysis and current career planning? So the implementation of your career strategy can provide useful feedback to the person. This feedback can enable the person to appraise his or her career. We look at number 5. It's one of my best, continuous learning. I was discussing with someone the other day, and she was like, Etisha, I've noticed that the way I feel when I'm shopping for bags, shopping for this, it's only when you are learning you feel what I feel. I say that is it. When I am learning, I feel the way I feel, I can't explain it. Continuous learning. You just want to keep updating yourself, I don't know how to explain it really, but be passionate about your development. Embrace that growth mindset. Be committed to your learning. And I say it every week in, week out. Oluyemi is always, he is committed to empowering us. And I also see a lot of us committed to our own growth. You can't play with it. But one thing I always say, please do not just take in knowledge. You are not applying what you're learning. You are not sharing. That is what I call information constipation, because you're eventually going to suffer that. If you are always learning, you're always learning, but we can't see the evidence or the impact of what you are learning. So there is learning, we call it in HR, learning and development. So what most of us do is we stop at learning. What happens to the other part of learning, which is development? So development is when you begin to apply what you have been learning. Then we can say you have developed because we are putting into practice. So I put something here around the coefficient of knowledge. Okay, I said, ensure that your knowledge application is equal to or greater than your knowledge acquisition. Don't just take in information, also apply. There was something I mentioned. I said, my husband, that is literally nothing in HR, he doesn't know. The thing is, the moment I learn something, I'm coming back home. They are my first point of, I dump every information on them because I want to speak, I want to share everything that I've learned. So you must be passionate as you are in learning. Be passionate to do, be passionate to share. That is when you are, you stay fluid, you stay relevant and fresh with all the information you are learning. So I say here, develop yourself instead of changing yourself, because change happens automatically when you develop. Stay curious and seek out new knowledge and experiences. If you have to pursue additional degrees or certifications, please do that. We look at the number 6 point, which is networking and mentoring. You see this picture. I thought I needed to share it here. Most of us, we work in silos. We just like to do our thing. I mean, I was like that too. Just want to do your thing. I didn't want to, associate. I didn't want to network. But I didn't know I was doing myself a disservice. It's very important that we begin to loosen up and ensure that we seek out mentors. From our case study, you noticed that Temi proactively sought mentors. She proactively, went for people that are already at the place where she wanted to get to. I remember when I started off my career, I'm super grateful for Tunde Temowo. Like I always say it. I started off and I'm grateful that he wasn't just an ordinary HR, professional, but a seasoned one at that. So the way I climbed in this career, I owe it to him because he was there to share with me important things that I needed to be doing as HR professionals. It doesn't even matter whether you have been working, because before I joined HR, I had over 7 years, working experience in other professional roles. But the moment I transitioned or pivoted to HR, I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. At that point, it was my entry level. into the career, the best thing you can do for yourself as a young practitioner or professional is to start early. I remember what TDA said the last time she was on call. She said, chant your course early in your career. Start early. Don't wait until you have spent all the years doing same old. Learn to ask. The reason I am opportune within the short period I have been in HR, privileged to be in a leading position today was because I didn't have a friend in my level. All of my HR, professionals that they were ahead of me. So the information they were sharing with me was at that level. So I could easily, when someone is on top and want to pull you, you go all the way up. So that is one of the best things you can do for yourself as a young professional. And at any point, it doesn't even matter if you have already spent 5 years in your current role, you can start, reassess, who are you talking with? Seek out advisors, anyone that can provide the guidance and support you need, go for it, network. And I also want to say this, I didn't like networking before. I've said it before, but you see networking, somehow I'm big. But we can't do that as professionals. Then I discovered something. This is my personal strategy that made me to be, because I always thought I was introverted. Until today, whenever I say I'm introverted, everybody will come and say, no, you are not. But I used to think that. So what I did was, when I go out, for events and networking, I don't try to tell you who I am. I will focus on you. I am asking questions about you, and I am showing you serious care, giving you all the attention. By that, it kind of helped me to open up, and I thought, this networking thing is not a killer. Because I used to think that, I don't want, let me just stay on my own. I don't want to. Go out there. If you don't want to share information about yourself, or you feel I have not attained, I have not, I've not gotten to that level where you want to come and share, go and ask them, find out who they are, ask questions around how they even got to where they are. People even want to share more when they say you are interested in knowing who they are. So these are some of the strategies you can develop. Go for it. Networking provide valuable connections and opportunities. Attend industry events. Join HR mentorship community. Connect with your peers. In this HR mentorship community, the mentors, the people there, I don't know about other groups, but the group where I am, join them, all right? Join them, connect with your peer. Something one of my spiritual leaders used to say, he said, everything that works is connected. Everything that works is connected. You can't work in silos. You can't be alone. And when I see the post of, joining HR mentorship, I see something like, do not walk on this path alone. You cannot afford to walk on the path alone. Join, be part of what is happening. That is the fastest way to grow, because people are sharing information. All right. So we have here critical areas to assess. Critical areas to assess. One, you want to assess your interest. We've talked about it earlier. Assess your interest. What interests you? What is that thing that you can do happily, whether they pay you or not? What's your interest? Then look at your values. Values are more like your operating, your operating system. They help you in your decision making. I have a colleague that got an opportunity to work with one international organization. But by the time he found out that they do things around blood and all of that, he turned it down. He said it's against his values. Values will help you make the right decisions. Only if you have figured out who you are, the way you want to, you want to be known. What kind of HR do you want? A passionate HR, an HR that love people genuinely, that care for people's growth and development? Is it work-life balance? What is it? You have to define it and begin to work alongside your values. Then you want to assess your knowledge, assess your skills, assess your attributes, and you want to assess your personal traits as well. Let's move on to common assessment techniques. So these tools can help you gain insight into your skills, your interests, your value, your personality, preferences, which are critical factors for making informed decision. We have a lot of this, and I've put some links that you may want to check out and assess yourself. So the way I see these assessment tools, I see them as pointers, right? I don't know if you have seen a video before or a picture, you just look at it and you've seen this. Then until someone say, did you see this person wearing it? You say, I didn't see it. You looked at it again and voila, the person is there. Oh, I didn't even see it before. So for me, this personality assessment tools, it could be career assessment tools, all these tools, they are like pointers. So they point you, they gather information and point you to something that is likely to be your forte, something that, that you didn't even know you possess. So I remember my first ever paid coach in this career. The first thing she did was to share with me a personality test. She said, Letitia, I want us to know ourselves. I want you to know yourself better. And the moment I took that assessment, I saw some things that I didn't even pay attention to. So when we were discussing the result, she said, you see, I was even doubting. I was like, no, but I used to think this. And the assessment was telling me that. Do you know what I did? She said, own it. Assessment is a pointer. When you take it and see the result, own the result and begin to own that particular thing, right? And that was what happened to me. By the time I saw my result, I began to, live it out. I'll come out, pay more attention in that area. When I am talking, somehow at the back of my head, I say, yeah, I am this person. So you want to know the level of your assertiveness. You want to know, some of these things. They are pointers. Don't joke with them. Go for it. We have a lot of free versions online. Download it. I think these ones that I added to this slide, they are all free. You want to take advantage of these resources, okay? And then we have interest inventories, which will show you, I think I have, let me go back, hold on. We have this MBTI, we have the big five, the value, yes, this is the one that shows you different values. You want to look at it and begin to assess which one am I strong in? Then we'll have this work preferences and work value survey. We also have skill and aptitude testing, career coach. These are all, assessment techniques you can go for, depending on what you're looking for. Most of us, we have career coaches. We have coach. So you consult with them. They provide one-on-one guidance, administer all these assessments. They help you explore in your career. Then we also have competency-based. Please, I highlighted this. I said that research has shown that individuals who choose careers that are closely aligned with their interests, skills, and values, they tend to be more satisfied in their jobs and enjoy greater career success. In other words, consider your interests, evaluate your skills, know your values, and determine your preferences. And I agree with this research 100%, right? I remember one of the guests we had some time ago, and I think the topic of that learning series was after HR, what next? And he kind of opened my eyes to say that we cannot just be HR in an organization. Your work is like, a foundation. Your work gives you that avenue, is an opportunity for you to live out your purpose. Don't just do your work. Find out, how does this work that I'm doing align with my person? How do I deploy? How do I function? You know how you can fulfill your purpose doing your thing. But it's only when that your work aligns with your interests, it aligns with your value, you see that you'll be more satisfied doing. After all, this is what I am born to do. So you might as well do it joyfully. Do it. You are enthusiastic about doing what you love to do, right? Then we look at HR assessment cycle. What does the cycle look like? You get clear with your objective. You cannot start an assessment when you don't have direction. We just saw there that we have different assessment techniques. You cannot use an assessment technique that is made for something and use it. You can't just be everywhere. You have to be clear. You have to be smart when you are assessing yourself. So the first thing first is get clear with your objective. What do I want to assess? Do I want to assess my competence around employee management, HR analytics? I want to know the level, my level of understanding, knowledge, application in this particular, like I said, HR is diverse. You want to get clear with that objective. The moment you are clear with it, will determine the kind of assessment criteria. Then you begin to check, okay, put down together communication, confidential, what exactly? So develop your assessment criteria. You determine the assessment method. Until we are clear with the first and the second, you cannot determine which assessment method you want to go for. Then start assessment activity. Then you collect your data and analyze it, evaluate your results. One thing I want to say here is, you can go for assessments when you do not have intention of changing or improving. Assessment must be with the intention of either changing something or improving. So the moment you evaluate, sometimes we just take as assessment, oh yeah, then this is it, and then you leave it. No, you have wasted time. Go for the assessments, go through the process, and set a goal based on the results. So you evaluate that result. Is this result good to you? Do I need to improve the quality of what I'm currently doing? That is what you do. Then you design your improvement plan. You hear things like PIP, performance improvement plan. We do it, put it together for others. You also have to be doing for yourself. All right? You have to do for yourself. By the time you finish appraising them, appraise yourself and place yourself on PIP. Place yourself on performance improvement plan. You must get better. Like I said earlier, you are a value influencer. You must grow. Then implement your plan. Whatever the plan is, put it together, measure your outcome, evaluate the process, and modify. And what happens? We go again. So this is like a cycle kind of thing. It's an ongoing, it's not a one and done activity. You keep doing it. And this is what happens. We told you that self-awareness is self-discovery, self-development, and self-deployment. So by the time you go through this process, you evaluate and improve the process, modify it. What happens? The moment you discover, oh, I'm doing this, I didn't know I could do it, and you begin to practice it, you get better. You move to the next thing. You don't just lounge, you move to the next thing. You keep improving. Life is a journey. Our career is a journey. And I'm grateful that our topic talks about our journey. It is a continuous thing. You never stop, right? Evaluating and modifying career goals and plans should be a continual process. You must be flexible while making your decisions. So what are the key takeaways from this particular session? Consider pursuing HR certifications, attending workshops, enrolling in relevant courses. Stay current in this field. Consider overall your job satisfaction. Then consider your long-term career vision. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 20 years? I saw this for the skits, where the interviewer was asking the interviewee, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And the guy was like, I don't know. Like, do you know what will happen to you in 5 seconds? If you step out of this, or do you know what happens to you? But let me tell you something. This thing Bible says that without faith, it is impossible to please him. For I acknowledge all our Muslim brothers and sisters here. So in the Bible, we have what we call, where the scripture says, without faith, it's impossible to please God. And I think that faith is a substance of things you hope for. You haven't seen that thing, but you trust that you're going to get there. So that is what vision is. So envisioning is powerful. It's good. Regardless of the joke around, even do you know what will happen to you the next? It's okay for you to have a desire, have a dream, have a vision, of your life, of your career. It's something that gives us hope, the joy to carry on, live on. So when I write, where do you see yourself in 5 to 8? Maybe 20 years is far, but put something together. We have things like a short-term goal in 1 year. What do you seek to achieve? I do that a lot. And in the course of this training or knowledge sharing, I'm going to share with you my own personal development template. I have it. I'm constantly using it. I have plans. You should have like a 1 year. If you think that 5 years is too much for you to see 1 year. In fact, see 3 months, but have something to live for. Okay? Does your career or current path align with this vision? Then you want to also evaluate your work-life balance. Are you satisfied with your work hours? These are some of the things that we've talked about. Consider seeking a mentor, regular tracking of your progress against your career goals and personal development plan. All right. Assessing your HR career journey, it's an ongoing process. We've said it over and over again. Let's quickly look at career stages. Different career stages in HR. So we have the entry level, which is 0 to 3 years of experience. In this level, we believe that you are either interning somewhere or you're graduate from a related degree program. You must have basic understanding of HR principles and procedures. You are able to handle some basic things. So at entry level, we are not expecting advanced level of, of experience. But most importantly, at this point, you're expected to get your learning cap on 24/7. You are constantly in the doing. Remember Temi proactively. It was at entry level. Temi didn't wait until, in fact, it is what you do at entry level that will determine what you do at mid-level, that will determine how you transition to senior level. So at this level, you are getting to know things. I want you to be like a toddler or like a young child, curious, asking questions. Why do we do it like this? So at this point, you are learning the foundational knowledge, gaining knowledge. Then we'll see the mid-level, which is, I want to say something here. Please, beyond the years. Yes, years of experience is important, but I've seen people move without getting to this level. So you see things like 3 to 7 years, normally, of experience in mid-level. People have moved to senior level without even spending up to 7 years. So it is not about how long you have been in a particular stage. It is about how well you are doing your job, or how fast you are learning, how much you are practicing what you are learning. That is actually the emphasis. That's where I want you to pay attention, okay? While the number of years is important, I want you to, I want you to get involved and do it well. So at this level, you're expected to have a strong knowledge and understanding of auditing standards, reporting, and all of that. You are able to translate strategy into work. You're able to manage and implement HR initiatives and programs, demonstrate a deep understanding of HR regulations and best practices, okay? Then we look at the senior level. We also have another level, but I, limited it to this 3 level. We have leadership level when we are talking about our HR directors, the chief HR officers, and the likes of them. So at this senior level, we expected that at least you have over 7 years of experience. Like I said again, it is how well you are doing your job, not necessarily how many years, okay? So responsible for HR strategies. So at this point, you are doing a lot of strategic HR. You are at the leadership, roles, doing some great and mighty things. You are building strong executive relationship and presence. You are aligning yourself to move even further. Then you are understanding business fundamentals, align the people management process to the business, overall business strategy. You're also committed to learning and pursuing advanced certificates and staying abreast of regulatory changes. Let's look at ways you can transition. Okay, where's my slide moving? Okay. Tips to transitioning from one stage to another. So on job training, I say again, it's in the doing that you become. At entry level, do as much as you can do. Don't run away from work. Don't think that, please, this is my HR manager want to kill me with job. Nobody wants to kill you with job. Nobody wants to kill you with job. The more you do, the more you become. Stay curious, ask relevant questions. These are tips. Utilize every opportunity to learn. Be available, all right? Then at mid-level, pursue advanced HR certification, seek mentorship and guidance, take on additional responsibility. At every point, my boss used to say this, reward for good work is more work. I said the other day, I got reward for good work. You should go beyond more work. We should be looking at other things. So what am I saying here is, at every stage you find yourself, you can't stop working. You can't stop doing. You are expected to improve and continue to scale, right? Then at senior level, you are building executive presence. Like I said, you are developing business acumen, negotiation, and the, likes of it. So additional tip to transitioning from one stage to another: be proactive. Don't wait for opportunities to come to you. Take initiatives. Take initiative and seek out new challenges. I said earlier, nothing just happens. You must work for it. You must go for it. Be proactive. Then be adaptable. HR is changing. We used to do things in a certain way. Now it's moving. The way things are even moving, it's scary. So you have to be adaptable, be flexible. Don't be rigid in your processes. Look at what is going in your organization and, come up with ways that addresses that. Don't say this is how it has always been. This is how it has to stay. Be adaptable. Okay, it's important that we are adaptable and willing to learn new things. Then be visible. I struggle with this particular thing. I just, like I said earlier, I want to be in my space, doing my thing. But time comes where you have to be visible. All right. Make sure your manager and other HR professionals are aware of your goals and interests. I want to say this: if you are looking for other opportunities, speak up, be visible. If you need to call Mr. Oluyemi and say, sir, I'm open for new, do it though, because nobody knows what you want really until you open up, be visible, be confident, believe in yourself and ability to achieve your goals. Don't be scared. I understand that some goals can be very scary, but go for it. All right? Don't be scared. Then lastly, I think this is our last slide, like career development and the management. How do we develop? First of all, it starts with planning. So you're planning, you're developing, you're managing, and it is all your responsibility. You are responsible for this. Let's go deeper. So career development and management is a lifelong process. So it's a structured, process. Choosing a career, you are designing, you are implementing your goals, plans, strategies towards what? Towards personal fulfillment, really. You have a preferred future. So everything you are planning is to get to that vision or that picture that you have seen. So it's a deliberate, structured process of setting and achieving professional goals and objectives. Okay. Let's look at some career management components. One, we have the education. So I transitioned into HR some years back. And the moment I got there, I recognized the importance of formal education. I think that was even the beginning of my success story. We cannot joke with education. So there are different kinds now. What we are doing now is educating. You want to also go through formal learning or formal education. Go for that degree if you have to. Go for that master's if you have to. Go for that DBA or PhD, whatever it is. Education is important. All right. It gives credibility to what you're already doing. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing your work. Go for that education. Then capability is also a component. You want to develop skills, capacity to do what you love to do. Network, authentic connection takes work, but the payoff is worth it. All right. And then experience. So these are the 4 components of career management. Let's look at career management strategies. We have the individual strategies and the organizational strategies, but we are going to stay at individual. Like I said, the work is not on your organization. The work is on you. You must own it. You must take the bull by the horn. Drive that's your career. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to your organization. Do you know why? There is a saying that the person that wears the shoe knows where it pinches. No matter the kind of system we have in our organizations, to help individuals manage their career or even develop it, we may not know. It is you that understand yourself. You are the one that knows what interests you, what your skills are. You are the one that knows what work preferences you may have. So in most walks of life, it is individuals' responsibility to plan and manage their career development. This means taking the time to reflect on where you are today. You want to, take time to reflect on where you wish to be in your future and what you need to do to get there. It is work, but it's a good work, right? Ever more so in today's working environment, individuals also take responsibility to identify their personal development needs and actively seek out opportunities for learning and training in order to achieve this. So in career decision, the individual is the only one having appropriate information. That is why we are going to, this is the post I saw, and I said I was going to highlight it from one of our professional colleagues. So I'll give you a background story around it. Someone posted something on LinkedIn, how his colleague that was earning 3-point-something million per annum moved from that organization to another one and to another one. and now the person is on 10 point something million annual. And this was her response. And I thought to highlight it because of what we're talking about now, individual strategies. She said, before you switch jobs, switching jobs is easier only when you have the critical skills. However, if you don't like where you are, first focus on changing who you are or how you are. Have you been stagnant in the same place for 2 to 3 years? Have you spent the last 24 months in the same place, on the same role, and on the same salary range? The gods are not to be blamed here. Neither can you blame your employer or the government, because your self-development is your responsibility. Your self-development is your responsibility. There is time to stay and there is time to move. It is important to know the difference. Do not switch jobs without identifying your why, your where, and your what? Your when. Don't just be running up and down. Have a plan. Take charge of your career. That's the whole sense. I love this. You seeing how determined this lady is. It's your career. Time to take the wheel. Look at her, bold, confident. You know what? Enough is enough. I am done playing. Right now, I'm going to get serious and I'm taking the wheel. Get to the driver's seat of your career and drive it. Move. Drive it. Let's get this serious. This kind of seriousness I'm looking at. Let's get serious, right? Let's look at some indicators of career management. How do you know that you are managing your career very well? One, you have a deeper understanding of yourself, okay? You have an accurate picture of your environment. You are self-aware. You are aware of your environment. You are aware of the system in your organization. Some of us struggle small with, politics and the likes of it. But you see, right now, I think I am aware. And that is an indicator for me that I'm managing my career well. Don't say, I hate politics. You have to just be aware, develop emotional intelligence and know how to manage it. So one indicator, number one, is deep understanding or deep knowledge of yourself. You have reflected and you have developed a good sense of who you are. You are more aware. You are developing and you are deploying your best possible self, and you understand your environment very well. Then you can now develop realistic goals, right? Goals that are not outside of your values. Don't just go and do things and say, that's what is available, and it's speaking against your values. Let's not do that. So you are able to develop goals that align with your abilities, your desired lifestyle, and your values. That is an indicator that you are on the right path. Then the development and implementation of appropriate career strategies. Then we have continual feedback process that permits adaptation in the face of changing situation. Okay? Few strategic skills to develop. One is have a compelling vision. We have said something around vision earlier. Develop a plan and action steps for how to move forward. Decide whether to take an opportunity or tasks by asking, engage people around you. This is what a vision does to you. I always, I thanked Oluyemi and I just let him know that it takes a visionary to be committed to something. Week in, week out, he is here ensuring that we are learning and developing. If he does not have a vision, he will not be this committed. So what vision does to you is to keep you committed. Consistency is one of the qualities that all of us are struggling with. You want to have something that even when you are tired, when you feel like giving up, you could look at that and say, you know what? I know I'm tired, but this is where I'm going. I'm not going to give up until I get there. So with that future thinking, it's difficult to know where you are going. All right? So develop that clear picture of the future that you want to. Then planning you run the risk of wasted effort and creating a work if you do not have time to develop plan. So planning has the following benefit. It helps you understand your resources you need to deliver your work. Plan helps you to communicate with people you need to get involved with. And then it helps you to, stay prepared, competent, and thoughtful. Planning doesn't sound very exciting, but you shouldn't underestimate the value. Very important. Then we have prioritization. You may or may not have heard about this Moscow model, which stands for must, should, could, and won't. So we're talking about, look at the activities that you want. Look at your life. What must you do? So you keep that on your, on the top of the things you must do. This thing is a must to do. I can't joke with it. And then you're looking at the should and could come next. They fall under the categories of, oh, this thing will be good to be done, but they are not. So you look at your time. If this thing is something I can do now without it having an impact on the things I must do, then look at the things you shouldn't even indulge yourself in, okay? So to put it simply, decide what you must do, what you're going to stop doing when you get clear on your priorities so you can focus your efforts, all right? And then we have building relationships. I said earlier, everything that works is connected. Build relationship, build and maintain solid reputation, roll with like minds, roll with people that understand where you're going, be part of HR group and that challenges your status quo, elevate your paradigm and empowers your vision, all right? And then note that HR professionals, we are strategic, we are proactive, we are not reactive, we are intentional in our actions and words and behaviors, okay? We are strategic professionals. We have to, aim at improving our teams. Then we're strategic professionals, don't waste their times. They know they can't do everything, so they focus on doing the right thing. And tonight, before I conclude, I want to encourage each and every one of us on the call to never lose the enthusiasm to work to better yourself. Love what you do and take pride in your work. Join HR Mentorship Community if you have not done so. Find your focus, begin that exciting journey, network with others, find engaging ways to help measure key mindsets, behaviors, and outputs. In conclusion here, the frequency of career assessment can vary depending on individual goals and circumstances, but it's generally a good idea to assess your career at least once a year. At least once a year. We're not saying once at least assess yourself. And before I conclude finally, I want to share, I said I was going to share that, but let me share this template. Maybe it will help someone to develop your personal templates. It will help you also work with something. So this is what I did. I have this template where I put my name and the date. Number one assessment is self-assessment, right? So I have a self-assessment. Under it, I have my personal reflection on career interest. So I write down my career interest, what interests me in my career. Then I have values. My career reflection on career values are, I put it down. Then skill audit. I will write my core skills. I write those skills, skills I believe that I possess, I put it down. And then I have the competency box. So I said my personal reflection on my strengths around behavioral competencies are, I will put it down. My personal reflection on my area of development around behavioral competencies, I put it down. Then I have aspirations and goals. This one is just on self-assessment. So when I'm assessing my interest, I'm assessing my values, I'm assessing my skills, I'm assessing my competencies. Then I have the second one, which is aspirations and goals. So this one, I have the short-term goal, I have medium-term, and I have the long-term. The short-term, it's like a 1-year goal. and I'll put it down. In 1 year, this is what I want to achieve. So before I got my master's degree, I put it down. When I looked at their modules and how long, I saw that it is possible to obtain your master's degree in 1 year, and that became a 1-year goal for me, and I put it down. Then you want to write your medium-term goal, which is 2 to 3 years, and then your long-term 5 years and above. You can put all of this. Like I said, if you cannot see your 5 years, at least see 1 year and begin from there to build. And then I have another box. I identify specific goals to help me move forward in my aspirations. I will write goal number 1, I'll put it down. Goal number 2, I'll put it down. Then number 3, I have like action planning. In my action planning, I have like a table, area of development, activities planned. I have time scale, I have success measure, and I have barriers. I want to write all the areas that I want to develop and then begin to highlight the activities that I have to get involved with in order to then time scale. I have success measures. What are the things that I will see to ensure that I'm actually on the right path? I am progressing. Then barrier, possible barriers. You see, the thing is, sometimes we don't envision barriers or limitation or challenges, and it can sweep us off our feet. So it's important, the problem you have envisioned, you begin to prepare and build ways that just in case this thing happened, this is what. So I have that. I put barriers. What could make me not achieve these goals? Possible barriers, so that you will know. Then you have a review progress. So in my review progress, I wrote area of development 1, progress made so far, action to take to progress before next review. Review, you see, my strategy is, as I am coordinating performance management in my organization every quarter, I am also coordinating my own career journey and my own life. I don't just do organization and leave my own. So I do all of this. It's very important. And then review date 2, you put it, review date 3, when you will have to come back to review all of these things. Let's pay attention. This is, in conclusion, pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to your career. Pay attention to your life. Go beyond just working in your organization and begin to make impact. All right. And at the end, we will all rejoice and be happy that you were here. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Mr. Liemi, over to you.
Wow, 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 wow. This is a real masterclass. This is a real masterclass. Thank you so much for this efficient, proficient, extremely explicit seminar, webinar, lecture, eye-opening, mind-boggling. Thank you so much. Perhaps this is the calmest webinar we've ever done. You spoke with so much authority and candor. Just like I told somebody just now, I said, Leticia's voice is soothing and therapeutic. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to ask questions or contribute to the discussion for tonight, I think we can still afford 10 minutes to take contributions, questions, or comments. You know how we do it by now. Just raise your hand, we recognize you, and you can quickly make your contributions or ask your questions. And if you prefer to ask in the chat box, in the Zoom chat, it's also allowed, they are permitted. Quickly type your questions and we'll take them from there. Meanwhile, I can see a lot of accolades, a lot of encomiums. I can see emojis and emoticons saying thank you, expressing gratitude, profound gratitude to you for this session tonight. This is not only timely, this is also timeless. You connected everything in such a short time. I'm still seeing appreciation. I'm actually trying to watch out for any question or any contribution. I think this is a master class. There may be nothing to, when you read that, permit me to also quote the Bible since we've quoted it once or twice today. When you read that portion of scripture and then it ends with one word, Selah, S-E-L-A-H. Oh, fortunately, we have somebody who is willing to either ask a question or contribute. My brother, Salam Alaikum, Abdulhamid. You have the floor, sir. Abdulhamid, please, unmute.
Good afternoon. My name is Abdul Hamid Aminu Dabu from Kaduna State. Please, I'm curious and I want to ask this question. Whenever I go for interview, what's my strength and my weakness, and I don't know what to say.
All right. So, what's your strength and what's your weakness?
Yes,
hopefully,
and
Leticia would know your strength and weakness. Prophetess Leticia, over to you.
Okay, so Abdullahi, thank you very much for that question. That is why we are here, really. That's why we have come to learn. So, like I said, nobody will do it for you. I can't tell you your strengths and I can't tell you your weaknesses. You have to figure it out. But you want to look back at the things you have done so far, and you want to assess every feedback you've gotten as to, Abdullahi, you did this one so well. You didn't do this one. These are all indicators. Like I said, you can make use of the online resources, to assess some of these things. But go down the memory lane and begin to assess your journey, how it has been. What are the things that you have done and you've gotten accolades for doing it? What are the things you are hearing people say, you do this so well, you do that? Those are all pointers, to your strength. And in those areas that they are also telling you it is not okay, you can improve on those areas. So this is how you ask your family. At least let's begin from there. They say charity begins at home. Go back to your family and begin to ask them. So my advice to you is start asking the right questions. So now that you've mentioned that when you go, you don't know what to answer, begin to ask your father, your mother, your siblings, your colleagues, what do you think I do best? What are the things that I don't do so well? Like that, you can generate data you could use to, plan on improving those areas.
So let me quickly add to that, and I will add by telling you a real life scenario. So I was in an interview session once, like this year, about 8 years ago, with about 4 or 5 other professional colleagues. And this candidate, he was 24, 25. And one of the panelists asked this young man what his weaknesses are. And he said, looking at us, went around the table and said, gentlemen, we were all men in that particular panel. Do we really want to know? And we said, yes, of course. He said, beautiful women. The guy still got the job anyway. So on a more serious note, Abdulhamid, as much as possible, let me just give you this hint. Make sure that the strengths you reference are fundamental to the success on the job. In other words, hopefully, before you went for the interview, you must have seen the job description and you must have seen the key competencies, skills required for that job. So by the time you are mentioning your strengths, make sure your strengths, you probably have 10, 20, 30 strengths. So I'm not saying you should lie or invent something. Look for part of your strengths that intersect with the core competencies of the job and mention it. On the flip side, make sure you don't mention a weakness that will jeopardize your capability to deliver exceptionally on the job. There are also many weaknesses. So look for your weakness that will not hamper you to be able to deliver successfully on the job. All right. But let me tell you 1 or 2 weaknesses I've had a lot. And I'm not saying you should say it. I'm just telling you what I've had a lot. You hear something like, I drive people a lot to get the job done. Sometimes colleagues may not really like it because I'm focused on results. Again, once you are mentioning any weakness, also almost immediately mention what you are doing to correct it. So if, for example, you say, you just say you forget things a lot, back it up by saying that is why you have a diary or a journal or a notepad to take records and keep track. So that the question is really about trying to know, like Leticia said tonight, are you self-aware? They just want to know if you are self-aware. And being self-aware means you know your strengths and your weaknesses. And it's not enough to be self-aware. Where you are weak, what are you doing to correct it? And even where you are strong, what are you doing to consolidate it? I'll just leave it at that. I see another hand up, and I see Samuel's comments in the chat box. But I'll take my brother, Bugatti. you know, if I don't have a Ferrari, my closest association with a big car or a big model is my brother and friend, Bugatti. Bugatti, you have the floor, please.
Yes, good evening, sir. Good evening,
Good
madam.
evening, sir.
All right. Mine is quite more like a scenario, right? But basically, as an HR person, you find yourself in a place where they've never had an HR person before, and you're trying to set up the department, right? And looking at where you're coming from, you've been trying to set up processes and procedures and all of that. But there are some set of people that actually started the business. So whenever you come up with things like, okay, this is the proper way to do this, like you're advising the management and all of that, then those, I don't want to call them cabals, then they will say, this is how we do it here. We don't want to change it. And already they have the backing of the MD. In this case, how do you advise that the HR person should handle?
Okay, so I would say this. It's good enough that you understand your environment and know that we have cabals. I said some.
Simply on Leticia's network. Can we
I
hear
think
her?
it's a network.
Okay. All right. HR or management generally. It's called change management. Now, you have already mentioned that you are, for example, or in this scenario, this person is the first HR. So when you are moving from non-existent HR to an HR, you must know that part of the bulk of your task will be change management. And what is change management? Change management is trying to move an organization from point A to point B and overcoming the resistance through that will occur from people. Even when all you are trying to do is good things, people will resist it. So I'll quickly give you a few examples. So for example, when we started this weekly webinar sessions, twice weekly, a lot of people said it's too much. Now, they know that knowledge is okay, but they said, no, the frequency is too much. I told one of the guys who reached out to me to say the frequency of this another session is too much. I said, how frequent do we watch Premiership? The person now stop complaining. If it's okay to be watching, I have friends, they watch football Saturday, Sunday. In fact, they'll watch Monday, then they'll watch UEFA, then they will watch Europa. If that is not too much, how come HR mentorship learning series is too much? Nobody is forcing anybody to watch it. You get it? Now, what I also like you to know is that you must also be ready for rejection. You may bring 10 ideas to the table. Maybe they will throw 5 out. Don't be angry. Don't be bitter. Just pack those 5. If you stay long enough with the organization, in 6 months' time, in 1 year's time, you can represent some of the initiatives that was earlier stepped down, and you'll be surprised and shocked that they will now be accepted. I also quickly add this. Before, you need to gauge the mood of the organization. Now, I don't know the kind of rapport you have built with the MD or the owner. Try and have one-on-one sessions with them before you meet with them publicly. What do I mean? Maybe you do weekly or monthly management meeting. Go and have a one-on-one session with the MD or the owner of the business. When you do that, all these ideas, you don't want the MD to hear it for the first time in the management meeting. You will have discussed, listen to him, you will get feedback. Some of the initiatives or suggestions, you may need to repackage it. You will take his concerns into consideration and relax. If you are lucky, you will even see that because you have had one-on-one sessions with him, when you now raise it in meetings, it will quickly support it and the naysayers will step back. Some, you may even tell him to help you raise it so that people will not oppose the MD or the owner. And they won't tell the MD that we don't do it like that. The only people you tell we don't do things that way here are new people. So you need to identify 2-3 other opinion holders, leaders, influencers who can genuinely buy into the value you are trying to push to the table. And when they say no, don't be upset, don't be irritated, just pack, and then you represent later. Let me confirm if Leticia is here and if she's ready to also provide a response in addition to what I've said. Okay, I see Victoria Abibola. Hopefully, she wants to also help to respond to that question or any of the other questions. Leticia first, then we'll come back to Victoria.
Okay, so I heard what you said. It's you have answered the question. The most important thing is get into a one-on-one discussion with them. And another thing I would like to say is when you recommend, you document. So if they insist on doing or having it their way, you don't push it. The most important thing is you are doing your job, you are recommending, and you are documenting everything, in addition to what Uliyemi has already said. And then, like we said, your interest. If that place is not where, a place where you are at your best, please, nothing stops you. Nothing stops you from getting to where you will be heard, but there is always a way to solve every issues. So build relationship and find a way to manage those relationships. I believe they will begin to listen to you, especially if what you have is value. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Leticia. Just go to the chat box so that you'll be able to respond to some of the questions that we've not addressed yet. Victoria, please, you have the floor. Vicky.
All right, good evening, Mr. Joshua. Good evening, everyone. I just want to quickly add to your response as regards Bugatti's question. So what I want to add is sometimes our approach also matters. Sometimes the approach we come in with while trying to put in some changes are the reason. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's the reason, but I'm saying that sometimes we might just also look at our approach. When you're setting up HR department for an organization that doesn't have one, you should be prepared for resistance. It is going to happen. Even from the owners of the business, there are some things you will bring in and they will say no. So you should be ready for that. And then also when you're coming in with these changes, the way you approach things also matters. For example, there are times that you not just lord over them because you are the HR. There are times you come in with, please, can we do it this way? There are times you are adamant, you are strict with the implementation and what you are trying to bring on board. Let me use an example. For example, my current workplace, when I joined, I discovered that there is no proper journey management process, and we have a lot of drivers, and sometimes none of the drivers are available. You don't even know where and when they have gone. And then there is me, the head of HR, who does not have a clue about where my drivers are, if they have even gone for their personal interests or if they have gone for official matters. And then so I had to put in some journey management process in place. And of course, I met with resistance. I have secretaries to partners that felt that it shouldn't, they only report to their bosses and not the HR, and then they would want to go out. Then I have the securities also trying to put protests in place and say that this is what HR said we should do. You will not allow you to go out until you get permission from HR and stuff like that. So I have this particular lady who refused to sign, and then they called me. I said, let her go, please. The security was surprised that I told them to let her go. And then she said she's never going to sign. She's never going to fill any journey management form, and she's never going to sign. I said, please let her go. Then by the time she came in, I went to meet her. I didn't even show her. See, that was what I was coming to meet her. I first sat down in the office. We played, we gist and all. After everything, and then I saw that she was comfortable. I was like, then I brought in, I was like, I was told that you said you would never do this and that. What have I done wrong? I'm just trying to put this thing in place. This is the reason why I am bringing this on board. So I gave her the reason why I am bringing that process on board, and not because I wanted to lord over anyone. or so. So by the time I explained that, okay, this is the reason why I brought that in place, was, oh, I'm sorry. And that was not, and then she said that was not what she told the security. And that was not what I told her, but don't worry, from now henceforth, I will start feeling. That same person now, as till now, has been following that processes. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say that sometimes you should also like weigh in how we bring in the change. Sometimes we are strict. Sometimes we just come in playfully. Sometimes we come in as if we are even pleading. That is not diminishing your authority. You're just, for example, if you want to catch a monkey, you of course have to behave like a monkey and probably hold a banana. You understand? So that's what I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You will come back and do a proper lecture on this. Vicky, don't run away again. All right. Leticia, I hope you are ready to respond to the questions on the chat.
So you may have to help me read it out because I can't see any of the chat. You know, I was locked out, so all the charts.
I understand. So don't worry, I'll be the monkey right now. Okay. So this question is from Alexander, and he says, thank you very much, Leticia. I want to ask about career movement. How long would you advise that a person remains at a particular job for progress and job satisfaction? Also, would you would not want to have a CV that indicates that you are unstable? Yeah, that's the question.
Okay. Yes, you don't want to have that. But then again, I said that it's not about how long you stay in a particular role. It is how well you have been doing it. You will be the one to know when you are ready to move to the next level. So I'm not going to give you time, but the most important thing you have to start doing is start looking at what would it take to move to the next level, and ask yourself, do I have the capacity, the capability, the competencies to move to the next level? And I tell you what I do. In HR mentorship platform, whenever I see a job role, I am more interested in looking at the qualification, especially if it's a job role that I'm vying for. I'm looking at the qualifications there, and I'm asking myself, do I have these qualifications? So this is one of the ways you can move. And speaking of having in your CV how mobile you've been, just do your work. Do your work. When you are ready to move, you move. There is no particular, I wouldn't say stay 2 years before you move, stay 1 year before you move. It's not okay for you to be jumping, up and down and all of that. But when you have done something over and over, you have assessed the organization, you don't see any way of moving forward, and you are ready to move forward, whether in that organization or outside of that organization. But the most important thing is, have you developed the necessary competencies you need to move forward? Then you will know. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very apt response. The next question here is from Foluke, and she asked, kindly identify a globally recognized HR certification. Thank you.
I will ask her first, which local one does she have? Let's start. So first, we have CIPM. Start with that. And if you have CIPM, we have other international one. I know we have the one we call SHRIM, right? The senior HR. We have a lot of them. That's why if you are not on HR mentorship, you better join now. If you are there, you will see. Just ask all of us there, we'll tell you. Okay?
Thank you so much. We have a question here from Samuel Ezinwa, our facilitator of yesterday. He says here, he asked, how do you draw the line between trying to be visible and eye service?
Oh, wow. I like that question. So you have to stay true to yourself. Everything boils down to your interest, your values, your preferences, and your capacity, your skills. Stay true to yourself. You know when you are operating in pretense, and you know when you are being real. The most important thing is This is you. I said earlier, don't just go to work and do your work for doing sake. Do it for your future. There are some things you must intentionally do for legacy. So don't live in pretense. Be valuable. Remove pretense out of your... So, one, are you doing what you have been asked to do? What you have come on board to do? Are you doing it genuinely? Are you doing that? You ask yourself that question. Are you doing it just to get accolades from your managers? Or you do some certain things, you grab staff for them to say, oh, is this person? You know when you are pretending. My own, I don't even have long story to tell you. My own is be true to yourself. Be valuable and be true to yourself. That's what I would tell you. So drawing the line between doing what you're supposed to do and pretending is only you can answer that. A lot of people have pretended and we thought they were genuine, but deep inside them, they knew they were pretending. So my advice to you is do not pretend. Be true to yourself and be valuable. Do what you have been asked to come and do, with or without anybody looking at you.
Thank you so much. At this intersection, I'll kindly request that you give us your closing remarks.
Okay. I want to thank everyone that's come out to join me tonight in tonight's knowledge sharing. Thank you. And I hope it was valuable. And like we said, it's an ongoing process. Take it seriously. Own your path. Hone your skills and deploy your best possible self. And I also want to thank all my cheerleaders. They know themselves. Thank you so much. Thank you for cheering me on, Auntie Oluwayemi. I mean, and you know I can't thank you enough. So let me not waste any of our time further. I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for the platform. The platform has helped me personally, and I know that you continue to be valuable to each and every one of us, and God will bless you abundantly. Thank you so much.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to celebrate every one of us who has joined this session tonight. At some point, we are well over 70 on the live call. Also celebrate every other person who will be watching the recorded version, which will be posted later tonight or latest tomorrow morning. Also, very importantly, we'd like to celebrate everyone who has contributed by way of asking questions or sharing their insights with us tonight. Most importantly, our facilitator tonight, the delectable, amiable, beautiful Leticia Mubana. Thank you so much for rising to the occasion. Thank you for raising the bar. The presentation is as beautiful as the facilitator. Thank you and good night. Have a progressive week, everyone. Bye.